Embracing Your True Self by Mrs. Laurinda Addy.
Embracing your true self. That's the topic for today. And this is so important because most of the time we go around thinking of others and not ourselves. But today we're going to learn how to embrace our true selves and also self-acceptance and self-esteem, how to have a high self-esteem and how to accept ourselves just the way we are. So I guess we're going to have a good time. Let's all get engaged. This is a very important topic, and afterwards we'll have time to have an open discussion. So I guess we are all ready. We'll just roll right now. Thank you very much. So we want to look at self-image, self-love, and self-acceptance, and also strategies that will help us to have a high self-esteem, or strategies that will help us to prevent us from getting low self-esteem. That's what we are going to look at today. Now, I want to start by looking into the mirror. Now, when we look into the mirror, do we like what you see? The mirror is a reflection of our own true selves, and that's figurative. So the mirror becomes a symbol of how we look at ourselves or how we see ourselves. Now, do you see what you want to see when you look into the mirror? Is that what you really want to see? What is your true reflection of yourself? So like I said, the mirror becomes a symbol of how you embrace your true self. And today we're going to learn of how we're going to embrace our true selves, the strategies to use, and how to even love ourselves and what it even means by loving ourselves. Now, Malcolm Forbes said that too many people undervalue what they are, which means that sometimes we underestimate our own selves. Sometimes we don't even see who we are. We don't even understand ourselves. We don't even know our worth. But it's good to do a search and also know who we truly are. That's the only way that we can love ourselves and have high self-esteem. Now, what is self-esteem? Self-esteem refers to confidence in one's own worth or abilities. If you are confident of yourself, you feel that you value your own self, you look within you and say that you are somebody and that you appreciate all the qualities that you have. That's self-esteem. You can have low self-esteem or high self-esteem. Now, self-acceptance is simply acknowledging and accepting who you are, your persona. That is embracing every part of yourself. Self-acceptance means that I am who I am, this is who I am, but I believe in myself, I accept myself just the way I am. So you realize that self-acceptance is unconditional, accepting the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this is who I am, but I'm accepting who I am. And so if there are any negative sides of you, once you've accepted it, you can even work on it to make you more successful. That is, embracing it means that embracing the bad side of yourself and working at it, then once you can change, to improve, to make a better version of yourself. Now, it also means embracing your personality and your temperament type. Now, the first step of truly accepting yourself is embracing your temperament type, embracing who you feel you are, and also accepting yourself wholeheartedly. Now, self-esteem versus self-acceptance. So self-esteem plays a role in the way you interact with the world. Self-esteem is the way you value yourself, or the way people see you, the way you portray yourself to the world, to society. How do you look when you go out? How do people rate you? That's self-esteem. But I would say that self-acceptance is a prerequisite to self-esteem, because if you don't accept yourself, you have a low self-esteem. If you have self-acceptance, you have a high self-esteem. So it is necessary for building a solid relationship with your own self. Once you have a relationship with yourself, your self-esteem goes high. And it plays a role in the way you interact with the world, because it has a psychological way of making you confident when you meet people, making you confident when you're interacting with people, making you confident for you to rub shoulders with people. You don't shy away because you have a high self-esteem, because you've accepted yourself already. So you don't fear to go into people. You stand tall when you have to meet people and you're confident. Now, there's a psychologist, Lao Tzu, who says that knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom, mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power. You may know people. Sometimes we think we know other people more than we do. And we go like, oh, we know this person so well. But how about you yourself? Knowing yourself is more important than knowing people, because it helps you to fulfill anything that you want to do in this world. If you know yourself, the benefits are that you become self-aware because you know what you can achieve. There's self-love because you love yourself. And then you respond better to others because you know who you are. So getting to know yourself is intelligence, it is true wisdom, and it is true power as well. So that's more important than even knowing other people, you and you alone. Now, what is the recipe for knowing yourselves? It's a threefold recipe. First of all, you have to discover yourself, the discovery stage. Discovering yourself means that you have an in-depth and firm knowledge of what your values and beliefs are, who you are, and what your goals and objectives are. For some people, when you ask them what are your values, they hesitate a bit because they don't even, it doesn't come up readily to them. They hesitate a bit because they don't even know what their values are. But if you know yourself, you should know what you stand for. You should know what your values are. You should know what you like and what you stand for. So discovery is stage one, discovering yourself, discovering your values. And the second stage is integrity. Now, after discovering your values, you put it into action. That is the integrity stage. And do what you say you are. Let people see that you really are what you're saying you are. That is integrity, which means that after discovering that I am this, I am that, put it into action. Taking actions that are consistent with those beliefs and values. That's the integrity part. Let me give an example. So my name is Laurinda. I stand for excellence. I stand for attention to details. So integrity-wise, I make sure that everything that I do, it smacks of excellence. That everything I do, the way I dress, the way I carry myself, the way I handle my projects. So that's how it works. That's the integrity part. It's one thing discovering your values and another thing putting them into action. You need to put your values into action. That's the discipline part of it. And the third stage is the perseverance. So once you discovered what your values are, and then you go to the integrity stage of putting into action, you need perseverance to maintain these actions. You need consistency. You need to make it a point, a conscious effort to say, these are my values. I'm putting it into action and I'm making sure that this is how I'm going to be. People are going to know me by these actions because this is what I stand for. This is me, and this is what I do, and this is how I behave. So these are my actions, and these are my values. So it has to show. But for some of us, we always say, oh, we stand for this, we stand for that, but we don't really portray that to the world. But knowing yourself means that knowing who you are, discovering who you are, and also living your full potential, as in living who you say you are. Okay. So we'll go on to this, knowing yourself again, and we go to the temperament types. Psychologists will tell you that there are 4 temperament types. And there's a sanguine, there's a choleric, there's a phlegmatic, there's a melancholic. So they'll say if you are enthusiastic and you're cheerful, you are sanguine. If you have leadership skills, it means you're choleric and all that, blah, blah. That's all good. But sometimes there is more to that, those personality traits inside of us that we don't bring out. Now, we might show traces of these characteristics of these personalities, but we might not live the full potential of them. You might have traits of being a leader, but you don't live up to it. So it's okay to identify yourself with a personality type, but live up to those characteristics. Bring out what you have in you to show that you're a real melancholic or you're a real choleric. You have true leadership skills in you. Let it come out. So personality types are okay, and you can read about it. Psychologists have written so much about personality types, but the integrity bit is what you have to live. You have to prove to the world that this is who you are and let it show forth. That's knowing yourself and bringing what is in you out to show. So we're going to talk about self-love. I said that self-love is a prerequisite actually to self-esteem, because if you love yourself, I mean, you have a high self-esteem naturally, it's automatic. But if you don't love yourself, your self-esteem is a bit low, and it's just like that. Now, enough of talking about loving other people. Most of us, we always around people, doing stuff for people, loving people, showing people kindness, doing all sorts of things for people, and we always forget ourselves. But self-love is very, very important. That's one of the key things that you could have that will help you, can take you to whatever you want to do. You need to love yourself first. And it's so, so important. And we're going to learn what self-love is and the benefits of self-love. Now, the Bible says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, which means that each one of us is fearfully and wonderfully made. So love your own self. Everybody, believe in yourself, believe in who you are, and love yourself. It's okay to love other people. The Bible tells us that we should love our neighbors as ourselves, not more than ourselves. So focus on yourself as well. Very important to bring yourself out, your personality, whatever you can carry, love yourself and let it show forth. Now, what does it mean to love yourself? Loving yourself means compassion and unconditional acceptance of yourself. We talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. It means that no matter who you are, love yourself. If you can change the ugly, change it and better yourself and love yourself. Now, viewing yourself as worthy, good, and valuable. Sometimes we underestimate ourselves, but value your own self. See your own worth as you are somebody. Don't let people play down on you. See yourself as worthy, that you are good, you are valuable, right? Also, appreciating yourself and holding yourself in high regard. Sometimes we like I said, we underestimate ourselves, but you should hold yourself in high regard. There's one thing being proud and holding yourself in high regard. Meaning you respect yourself, you give yourself value. And it all comes to play by the way you carry yourself, by the way everything you do shows that you hold yourself in high regard. It also means taking care of yourself in all aspects. And then it also means that being content with yourself without being complacent. Sometimes you can be content with yourself and be very complacent, but what I'm saying is be content with yourself, be happy with who you are, but don't be complacent. And that's all self-love. So that's what we mean by when you love yourself. Now, most of the time, we are waiting for people to do stuff for us. We are waiting for people to make us happy. We are waiting for people to say things to excite us. We are waiting for people to, to validate us, all those things. But I would say that when it comes to self-love, whatever you want from someone or you're expecting from others, give it to yourself first. That's so simple. Whatever you're expecting from other people, give it to yourself. Now, is it validation? Is it acceptance? Is it compliments? Is it a pat on the back? Whatever you want people to give to you, give it to yourself. So you are your own cheerleader. Just in case no one cheers you up, you are covered. But even if they give it to you, I bet you it won't be enough until you give it to yourself, because, self-love is more important. So give it to yourself. Don't wait for people to say, oh, you did a great job. Don't wait for people to praise you. Believe in your own self. Don't wait for validation from people. Don't wait for people to accept you. Don't wait for them to compliment you. Give that to yourself. So whatever you want from people, give it to yourself first. And that's self-love. Because I bet you that the relationship you have with yourself is the only true long life relationship. And I'll explain. Now, relationship with every other person will end. Have you not seen friends who like each other, who were very close and love each other so much? And the next moment, over a little misunderstanding, they become bitter enemies. So some friendships will fail, with other people will fail. Marriages collapse sometimes. Family, siblings go apart sometimes. But the relationship with you and you alone, with yourself, is a long relationship, a relationship that will last forever. So why don't you invest in that one, that relationship with your own self? Invest in that. And that will be highly beneficial, because that doesn't end until you die. That relationship with yourself doesn't end, because anybody else, any relationship you have will end at some point. So true love is having a real relationship with yourself and appreciating your own self, because that is a long-lasting relationship. Now, besides, you can't love others until you love yourself. That's very key. You can't love others until you love yourself. You can't give what you don't have. If you don't have love, you don't know how to love your own self, you can't give love. You don't even understand what it is to love your own self. So obviously you can't give to other people. So it's very important that we work on the relationship we have with our own selves, and that will help us to also share love to other people. So we're going to look at the importance of self-love. The first thing is that it boosts your self-esteem. When you love yourself, I said this before, that it makes you get a high self-esteem. Now, it also avoids you competing and comparing yourself with others, because you love yourself. you believe in yourself, you believe in your values, so you don't even compare yourself with others because you know who you are. Now, you don't feel intimidated by other people. Who can intimidate you when you believe in you, when you know who you are? Who can intimidate you when you have groomed yourself and you have accepted yourself, you know who you are, and you stand tall and nobody can intimidate you? Now, when you love yourself, it reduces stress and anxiety because you are very confident, you are comfortable, you don't care about what happens around you. Less stress, you don't think too much about anything that you're lacking or anything because you are content with yourself. That is accepting your own self and loving yourself. Now, it also makes you not tolerate abuse or mistreatment because you love yourself so much that you will not allow anybody to mistreat you or abuse you. Now, it leads to inner peace, happiness, and self-satisfaction. And you don't need endorsement or validation from people. Like I said, if you love yourself, you don't need people to endorse you. And it is said that those who shine within don't need a spotlight. Now, if you shine within, you don't need the spotlight. You don't need people to tell you that you did well because you know what you can do. You believe in yourself, so you don't need that spotlight. Now, understanding who we are. When we were in school, in primary school, I remember we all wrote myself. That's an essay that everyone wrote when we were in primary school, I guess. And do you know that the myself that we used to write is something that we wrote, we were far different from that myself. Writing myself and just writing words, but not writing actually who we really are. Look at someone writing myself and cracking the brains. But if you know who you are, you don't think to write myself. You write, it comes readily to you, and you write who you are. That's way back in primary school. Now let's come fast forward to, we've all grown up. We're writing CVs, we are writing profiles, and there are things we write in our CVs and profiles that we don't actually live it. We might have traces of them, but we have to explore the full potentials. We write things like we have good interpersonal skills, we are goal-oriented, we pay attention to details, we have interpersonal skills, we have good communication skills, we are committed and dedicated. No, we have a high sense of adaptability. You can go on and on. We write so nicely all these things in our CVs and our profiles, but are we really what we are? Where is the integrity stage? Do we really live these things? You realize that when we get on the job, sometimes those things that we've written, we don't really apply them fully. You might apply it a little, but you have not really lived it to the full potential. So for some of us, we know we have traces of, we have an idea of who we are, but we have not explored to really maximize that potential in us. So on your profile, you have all those nice things, but you haven't maximized them. So let's go beyond discovering who we are to the stage where we live who we think we are, and we are proud of who we are and live the full potential. So that's understanding us. So by so doing, you understand who you are. And if you understand who you are, you actually live it. Now, we'll go into science and see what science says you are. Now, at its base, life is composed of machines. Science says that life is full of machines, and not one, not two, but many trillions of machines working in each and every one of us. Now, one cell from your mother and another cell from your father, you now have over 3 trillion machines inside of you. That's what science tells us. Now, if we were to describe you, now based on science, writing 1 letter per second, it would take 90 years for you to write your myself, who you are. Now, this simply means that we are underestimating ourselves and that we simply don't know who we are, and that there's a lot inside of us that we have not tapped. Now, we need to go out there and unearth whatever talent that is inside of us and live it to the fullest. Now, let me give you some examples. I'll give you like a couple of examples. This is a little story. So you have an eagle, right? An eagle who is walking with chickens, and they are walking and they go, and somebody meets them and says, "Hey, you are the eagle. Why are you walking with chickens?" And the eagle says, "Well, these are my family, so I'm with them." And the person says, "No, you're an eagle. You can fly. You don't have to walk like the chickens are walking. You can fly." And the eagle is ignorant. He doesn't even know. That's just a story. He doesn't know that he can fly. So the eagle is walking like the chickens are walking. He didn't know that he had the potential to fly. So, and that's a step further than walking than the chickens. So he's a bit higher than the chickens, but the eagle didn't know that until he was told and realized that, oh, so I had wings to fly. I didn't know. I thought I was like these chickens. So this is something that happens to most of us. We don't know what we have inside of us, but we are just there, and we are ignorant, and we are living below what we're supposed to be living. Second example, supposing that there's a car that has a functionality to fly. You have a car that was manufactured to fly. And then you're driving this car and you're going on a long journey, and you reach like a barrier, and there are blocks of trees that are blocked the road. And then you sit in the car, you don't know what the car can do. You don't know that the car has a functionality to fly. And so you are stuck, and you are saying, oh my, I don't know what to do. I can't go forward, and I can't also go backwards. Little did you know that that car you had the functionality to fly. So if you knew, you would have just fly over that log of trees and you would go to your destination. But you are stuck because you didn't know what that car could do apart from driving it. You didn't know that it could also fly. Another example, we all have our gadgets that we use, our phones, our laptops, our iPads. Sometimes these gadgets have a lot of functionalities that we don't know, especially our phones. No, we all think that, oh, let me just make a phone call, let me send an SMS, or let me do WhatsApp. That's the basic things people do with their phones. But the phones that we carry, or the gadgets that we carry, have other functionalities that we can use for other things. But we underestimate the use, and we underuse them because we don't know. So knowing who you are is very, very important. You have your Excel application. You only know how to do a table with Excel, but there are a lot of features on Excel that you can use. The same way, as human beings, we have things inside us that we don't even know that we have. But if we identify those trends and tap into it, we will embrace our true selves and become who God wants us to be. And that's just a few examples that I wanted to give. So as a matter of fact, I would say that we as human beings, you are a powerhouse. You carry so much in you that you have no idea. So dear friends, there are more machines inside of you than in all the factories of the world combined. And that's what science is telling us. So that's why the psalmist David, then let's go into the Bible a little, would proclaim that, for you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. That is in Psalm 139, verse 13 to 14. He says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Look at the words, fearfully, wonderfully, which means that every person has something unique in them. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, which means there is something inside of you that God made that you can use to fulfill your destiny, that you can use to become who God wants you to be. And that's what we want to untap today. So now let's tell you what the machines inside of you do. Now God blessed him, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion. So the words here are be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, take dominion. So fruitful means that whatever God has put into you, be fruitful, use it. Multiply means that whatever they've given you, multiply it. We all know the story of the 5 talents in the Bible, where the master was traveling and he gave them each a talent, and one person kept and said, I was afraid of you, so I didn't use it. But others went with it and multiplied the talents. So we are supposed to multiply whatever is inside us and use it to build our own selves. We are supposed to replenish whatever we lose. And we're supposed to subdue and take dominion. When there's something that is missing in us, we quickly rise up, take dominion, subdue it, and pick up ourselves again. Now, there are factories that produce unlimited fruits inside of us. So it means that we are all multiplication machines. We can multiply what God gave us, our talents, and use it to our benefit. So I'll go over again. You also have the power to replenish anything you lose. When you lose something, don't sit down crying. Pick up yourself and replenish it. You have the power to subdue any enemy that attempts to take anything away from you. And that is what you truly are, fearfully and wonderfully made. We are all fearfully and wonderfully made. And God has made us so unique that there's nobody who doesn't carry anything. Everybody has something in them that is peculiar to them that they can use to their advantage. Okay, so what? Sometimes we all have these potential, but there are things that come to attack us. You get up and say, "No, I can't lose this. I will work and get it back, or I'll overcome this challenge and go to my next level." That's what we're supposed to do. And this takes us to common challenges that can undermine our self-esteem. We want to look at triggers of low self-esteem, some of the things that would trigger our low self-esteem. Now, first of all, I want to talk about unhappy childhood, where parents or teachers were very critical. For some people growing up, they had parents say very critical words about them, and they had teachers also say things about them that were very detrimental, which affected their self-esteem. And they've grown up with this, and they have not even grown out of it, and they're still telling on them. They are not really overcome it. But here's the thing: when people speak detrimental words against you, you have the choice to disabuse it. You have the choice to refuse it and move on. And I'll give you a typical example. I know of a young boy, and this is a family friend that we know, that the boy was growing up, and in GSS, now this boy was not doing so well in class, and the teacher kept using very mean words that the boy was not good, you're not good enough, you don't do well, you're good for nothing. And teachers of today, they say so many things to students that is so unfortunate. So this boy did not listen to what his teacher is saying. He kept on trying his best. He wasn't doing well, especially in mathematics, he'd fail, and other subjects as well. And even when they were going to write a BC, the teacher tells the boy that you're not good enough. Don't choose any good school because you won't get it. Don't choose a school that any A-class school because you are so low that if you choose any school. And the teacher even suggested a school for the boy to choose. A school that is a very low-class school, that this is the school that befits you. Anybody will be broken by this. Anyone will be down. But that boy was not down. His parents supported him. He moved on and on. Chose the grade A school, ignored the teacher. Chose that grade A school, got to the school, did so well, ended up in university abroad, and read mathematics and economics. And the mathematics that he was not doing well did so well. And today that young man works in one of the leading banks in North America. Now, this is what ignoring comments from people would do. But on the flip side, he could have just been undermined by these words by the teacher, and also his future would have been, he would have ripped off his future because of detrimental words from a teacher, from a mean teacher. So sometimes unhappy childhood, parents and teachers speak negative words to parents. That is a challenge that can undermine your self-esteem, but don't allow it to happen if you are in that state. Now we have poor academic performance. Some people find out that they're not doing well in school, and so maybe their friends are all doing well, and when the results come, they feel so sad, and they feel that they don't matter. They feel that, oh, I'm not worthy because everybody's doing well, I'm failing all the time, my performance is not too good. But hey, sometimes the academics is not your thing. If you're not doing well academically, maybe there's something you can do with your hands. Maybe you can be an entrepreneur. And trust me, most entrepreneurs that we have today did not go to school to a higher level. They dropped off school and they're doing so well because they did something with their hands. Don't look down on yourself because of poor academic performance, because you might have something else that you could leverage on to become a great person. And we have countless of examples all over the world of people who dropped out of school, who have built on business and have become great businessmen and entrepreneurs who are doing so well. So poor academic performance, yes, it's a challenge and can undermine your self-esteem, but don't allow it. On the other hand, if you have poor academic performance, look elsewhere. Maybe you're not doing well in some subjects. Try switching and see maybe the other subjects work. And let me give you a typical example. We all know our renowned broadcaster, the late Komna Dumo. I don't know, for those of us in Ghana, we know him. He's a Ghanaian broadcaster. Komna Dumo, blessed memory. Now, Komna Dumo did so well in the broadcasting industry, but he didn't start like that. He wanted to be a doctor. Komna Dumo went to the medical school and he failed on all counts. Komna Dumo failed the medical school until the point that he was sacked from the medical school. I don't know how many of you know the story. But he dropped out of the medical school, but he didn't give up. He didn't look on himself and say, I'm not good enough because I didn't do well in medical school. He found something in him. He realized that he could speak well. He realized he could communicate well. So he said, well, what can I do with speaking? what can I do as somebody who can speak well? He said, okay, let me go into broadcasting. And he ended up going to the School of Journalism. That's a dropout medical student, went to the School of Journalism, completed School of Journalism, went to Ghana Broadcasting Corporation to work, and he didn't even start on any big role. On a very small scale. Gradually, he rose through the ranks. He went to Joy FM, was a great broadcaster. And guess what? BBC poached him to host the BBC, Network Africa in London? And he did so well until his untimely death. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that sometimes it won't work for you in the sciences, it works for you in the arts. Or it won't work for you with mathematics and medicine, but it works for you in languages, for example. There are things that you can do. So identify where your strengths are. Don't let poor academic performance give you a low self-esteem. There is something else you can do. Everybody cannot be a doctor. Everybody cannot be a lawyer. There's something you can do that can make you great. And in that special field that you are, make yourself special, stand out so that you become the top. And that you also have a high self-esteem, because I am a broadcaster and I'm proud to be a broadcaster. Whatever you are, be proud of it. Now, the other thing that will also undermine your self-esteem is social rejection. It's something that is everywhere. Relationship breakups, you feel rejected. Betrayal from friends, you feel rejected. And also sometimes dismissal from work. When you lose your job, you think that's the end of the world. It means you're good for nothing. But hey, if there's something that made you lose your job, work at it, improve yourself and get into a new job. Don't sit down and put your hands on your head and say, I'm not good enough, so I lost my job. Yes, they dismissed you, but life goes on. It shouldn't make you lose your self-esteem. There is something inside of you that probably those still in that job don't even have. You have something better that you can use somewhere else and push yourself to the next level. Also, poor physical appearance. And this is for the ladies. Some ladies will think, oh, I don't look good enough, so I have a low self-esteem. They shy away from people because they say, well, they don't look too good. But I would say that you are fearfully and wonderfully made again. Whatever God made you, make good use of it, enhance yourself, and come out boldly and try and believe in yourself, believe in your looks. I mean, enhance it with clothes if you want, whatever you want to do to enhance your beauty, do it. But poor physical appearance shouldn't make you lose your self-esteem. And also there's trauma and abuse. People go through traumatic experiences, rape and physical abuse that brings their self-esteem down. But if you love yourself so much, these things shouldn't break you. If you love yourself so much, these things shouldn't make you lose your self-esteem. You need to pick up yourself again and say, no, it happened, but it's over. I am moving to my next level. I am forgetting all these things. It will not bring my self-esteem down. We read about subduing and taking dominion. You subdue it and say, no, it won't happen to me. I will move to my next level. So those are the triggers for low self-esteem. And I've explained, I've given examples. I know you can also add on a lot of examples to these. Now let's look at rejection. One of the main causes of low self-esteem, just a glance. And at this point, I would like to introduce my book, Power to Overcome the Pain of Rejection. This is a highly inspirational book, highly motivational, and I would recommend for everyone on the platform to get a copy if you haven't read it yet. You can DM me or you can talk to the coordinators and get you a copy to buy. Now, in this book, I talk about what rejection is and why we shouldn't allow rejection to overrule us. I look at the types of rejection. I look at also the causes of rejection, and I look at how strategies you can use to overcome rejection. Now, I went into the Bible and I also looked at characters in the Bible who were rejected, but through that rejection, God used them to fulfill their destiny. And a typical example is Joseph, whom we all knew, who his own siblings rejected him, and he was thrown into the pit. From the pit, he was into prison. From prison, he landed in Potiphar's house. From there, he became a prime minister. So from the pit to the prison, from the prison to Potiphar's house, from Potiphar's house to becoming a prime minister. And Potiphar's house was betrayed as well by the wife, and he became a prime minister. So God took him through all those series of rejections and made him who he is. So my message was, rejection comes, but God has a way of using it to our advantage. So a quick glance, when you are rejected, think of the reverse. Think of the many people who accepted you. Sometimes only one person will reject you, or only one institution rejects you, and you think that the whole world is coming down. But you remember that many times people have loved you, many times other people have accepted you. So look at that and look at the positive side of life. Now, rejection doesn't have to also hold you back. When you're rejected, doesn't mean that life comes to a standstill. You need to move on, continue what you're doing. Don't look back and say, oh, this happened. Move on and press ahead. If people abandon you, don't abandon yourself. Love yourself and believe in yourself as well. Also use rejection to advantage. Rejection is an opportunity for a selection. When somebody rejects you, other people are there to select you. And then a rejection is nothing more than a necessary step in the pursuit of success. Now, when you're rejected, it's a challenge for you to be successful because you know that they rejected you. So you need to move on and try to achieve something to be more successful. Now, an example is of great men who were rejected is Walt Disney as the owner of Disneyland. Now, this man got rejected several times. He lost so many jobs. And one of the jobs, the bosses told him that you lack imagination and have no good ideas. That was his tag for firing him, that he lacks imagination and had no good ideas. This is a statement that will break any man. But this did not move him. He kept on moving on till he formed his own company, and he's a great man. He became a great man, and he's the owner of Disneyland. And today his company earns over $60 billion a year, and that's Walt Disney of Disneyland. So that's an example. And people like Steve Jobs were also fired from their jobs several times. That was rejection. Success was at the end of it all because they pursued. They didn't give up the rejection. They went on, and they succeeded in the end. So guys, rejection will come, but let's brace it and let's not allow it to bring our self-esteem down. So we are now going to look at the strategies for building our self-esteem. Embrace what makes you unique. I earlier on said that we all have something unique about us, something that makes us stand out. So embrace that individuality, something that is in you. So in order to build a high self-esteem, embrace what is new, that is good. Change the things you can change and let go of the things you can't change. There are things you can change and improve on. There are things you cannot change. Allow them to go and change the ones you can change and build yourself. Identify your strengths. So here you do a SWOT analysis of yourself and say, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Look at all these and use your strengths to your advantage. Celebrate your accomplishment. I said earlier that don't allow people to validate you or to celebrate you. Celebrate your own self. Celebrate your accomplishments. Don't wait to be celebrated. Now, practice self-care. We're talking about ways in which you can improve our self-esteem. So self-care, good grooming, branding, packaging yourself well, all these things, dressing well. Sometimes young people will say that, oh, I don't have a lot of money to dress well and all that. But I don't think that you need a lot of money to dress. I think that you need creativity, you need style, you need consistency, you're always trying to look good. You need to be neat. Comb your hair. If the wig is only one, make it always look good. You need good combination of designs. What you're wearing on top and that doesn't match. You need to dress according to your body type. That is what it means by dressing well and looking well. So practicing self-care, good grooming, it all comes to play to make you improve your self-esteem. And then build positive relationships. Don't be around people who give you negative vibes. Be around people who will give you positive energy that will boost you and encourage you to move on and on. Also avoid people with negative energy who try to bring you down and drain your confidence. There are some people, they know your worth and they know who you are. So they try to bring you down. I know a lot of such people. They will say things to make you feel bad. They will say things to make you think you're not worthy, but don't allow them. And the thing is, if you know who you are, these things should not move you. These comments should not even move you. You need to stand firm and say, I know who I am, and I don't take these comments. You just ignore them. So avoid such people who have positive negative energies around you. Have a growth mentality, a growth mindset. If you want to have, you see, when you have something to offer, you have a high self-esteem, right? But if you don't have anything to offer, you shy away. You can't go to people because what do you have? What do you have in your hand? Do you have not how do you say it? You have not grown yourself. After school, you haven't done anything. You haven't done any further courses. You haven't built yourself. You need to grow. Have a growth mindset, growth mentality. Do courses, upgrade yourself. Learn. If you want to speak well, learn communication skills. Look at the book. If your vocabulary is not good enough, look for words. Read books that will give you words to build your vocabulary. If there's something you're interested in, read online. Read. That's a growth mentality. That will make you have a high self-esteem, because when you know what when you're very broad-minded, right? And you fit into every circle. When there's a conversation around the table and you sit, when you speak, people know that you carry something. But if you are invited somewhere and you are speaking and you can't even contribute to a single conversation, and you should be versatile. When it's politics, you can speak something. When it's economics, you can speak. When it's so that you're all around. When you do that, you can fit into any environment and you stand tall because you are confident. But if you don't have a growth mindset and all you know is probably you're always on social media and you are content with the degree you had, or you're content with your SSS graduate or whatever, you're okay, that will help. You need to build yourself. You need to be confident. You need to have something in your hand that commands respect. Because if you have something, you yourself, you feel good about yourself. So you can fit into any circles. Now, practice self-affirmations. Speak well of yourself. Mention your name and say, Laurinda, I am great. Mention your name and say you are great. Mention your name and speak positive things to yourself. Now, greatness is inside of you. Don't wait for anyone to remind you. Keep telling yourself that you're great. Each day, tell yourself that you're great. Continue to tell yourself until you become great. So, and also challenge yourself. Sometimes just put the projects ahead of you and challenge yourself to do it. Say, I will do. Just challenge yourself and go ahead and do it. And do things that you enjoy doing. Sometimes we all have things that we love to do. We have to identify things that we love to do. If you don't have, identify something that you love to do and do that. It makes you happy. It makes you yourself. Be yourself. Do things that you love to do. When you do that, you're happy and your self-esteem goes high. So these are strategies that we can use to build our self-esteem. Now, before we wrap up, let's look at a case study of Stephen Hawkins. I don't know how many of you have heard of him, but Stephen Hawkins was disabled and yet still believed he had something inside of him. Now, he tried to become the best physicist and came up with a research that turned him into a celebrity within the scientific world. Now, this is the background. So in 1963, Stephen Hawkins, at age 21, was diagnosed with an early onset of slow progressing form of motor neuron disease that gradually over decades paralyzed him. So he became paralyzed, but he was a scientist, or he wanted to become a scientist. But that was an external factor that had come to strip him of what was inside of him. So he had to subdue, and that wanted to prevent him from living his full potential. And he didn't allow it. But the power to replenish inside of him made him rise up and take dominion. So he said, no, in spite of my disability, I will go on. And he became one of the top physicians or physicists, and he became a celebrity in the scientific world because he came up with something that made him a celebrity, a research that made him a celebrity in the scientific world. That is what the power of taking over and replenishing what is inside of you can do, because he became paralyzed. Well, he was in a wheelchair actually when he developed all this research. So guys, this is something you can also do. Your name may not be Stephen Hawkins, you may not be a scientist, but you know what? There's something inside of you that you can leverage on to become that great person that you've always dreamt of becoming. Look within you. You have all that it takes. Just look within. So all we're saying today is that know who you are, love yourself, accept yourself, be confident. Don't let anything or anyone bring you down. Believe that you can do it and you will do it. So that's all I have for you today. And embracing your true self helps you to live a more fulfilling life. Once you embrace yourself, you can live a more fulfilling life. And it's the key to everything that we do in life.